Hey team, it's Josh Wilson here again. Just getting another video out for you guys for store managers meeting this Friday and Saturday, depending on what day you have it on. Trying to get this out here early. I do apologize about the last 2 weeks with people being out on vacation, some other things coming up. I apologize that it was not out, and that was 100% my fault. So again, I do apologize for that. But again, guys, I'm super excited to be talking to you about this first week of August. August, I'm super excited for. I feel like our pricing, our marketing, everything's on point to have a huge month for us, especially because August has always normally been one of our best months out there. I think right now, over the 3-year average, August is our best month that we have out in the market. So we're super excited about it. Everyone's coming back off their vacations. They're finally back in town. Doing their back to school shopping, getting excited about car purchases. They like, spending that money. So, we're already seeing our leads jump right here at the end of July, leading into August, and they should lead us into a great month. Again, also another thing that's going to contribute to having us a great month, especially in the Utah and Idaho stores, is and soon to be all around, the ability to do out-of-state and nationwide financing. With Transwest coming on, especially here in Utah and Las Vegas as they're in right now, and hopefully Idaho here in the next week or two, it'll allow us to finally do nationwide lending. I know Colorado, you've had this for a little bit with Commerce Bank, but again, we're hoping that with this it can give us that bounce in sales that we need, because we all know about 50 to 60% of our leads do come in. They are out of state. They're out of our lending area, but this allows us to, hopefully hone in and get these people done. So with that being said, this store manager meeting, we wanted to kind of talk about the process on what we do on out-of-state sales. Again, because they are a whole different ball game when it comes to out-of-state sales. They're nothing even close to what we do in-state or when we have a customer sitting right in front of us. So we want to kind of talk through that process, because they are really similar, but there is different processes in them. So again, I kind of want to talk with you guys. First thing is, what's the difference between a phone call on someone that's local, say, up in Boise or in Las Vegas, or someone that lives close to the dealership that can come into the dealership, or someone that's in Alabama or Florida or New York? What's the difference in those phone calls? How do we handle in-state sell against out-of-state sell? What differences do we make in that phone call? So I want you guys to kind of take your time, go around, talk about that, about what differences we have, and how you guys handle each phone call differently. Kind of have a group discussion about that. Take 5-10 minutes to have this discussion. All right, well, I hope you guys had a great conversation there. I think with us having that interaction with the team, no one's gonna know what's better, what you're going through, than your actual own team, because every store is different. I don't know what you're going through. I don't, it's been a while since I've taken those phone calls every day. That's it's the best time when you guys can actually interact and talk about that. A couple things I've thought about with phone calls is disclosure. With out-of-state customers, we need to make sure we're disclosing the rebuilt title, and we need to make sure it's clear, because every state's different. Every state calls a rebuilt title a different name. We notice it just in our states. Utah's rebuilt, restored. Colorado, it's rebuilt from salvage. They're all different. They all have different names to them, and you all have your own different name. So make sure they understand the process that this car at one time had a salvage title, and now it has a rebuilt title, and it'll go into a similar thing. We all know in California, they go back to a salvage title. They just have different colors of salvage title. They have an orange and like a blue one. So we need to know that, because especially when we go nationwide, we can't say you're going to get a rebuilt title, because we don't know that for sure. We can do our research, but just make sure they understand that it had a salvage title. It's passed inspection, so it has a rebuilt title now, which makes it roadworthy and makes them be able to get on the road and be able to cover everything. Again, we don't know what the status is of those. So make sure that's very clear with our customers. We need to make sure we go with great detail on what happened with the car, the parts replaced, go through all those parts, make sure we have that, and we go over the story very well with that customer. Back it up with emails that kind of talk about what you talked about. The more documentation you can have with a customer to make sure you explain things to them, the better. Because again, a lot of these out-of-state customers will twist things and say, hey, you never told me this, you never told me this, you never told me that. When you did, but the problem is over the phone, sometimes things can get lost. So I like to, with our out-of-state customers, is everything we talk about on the phone, follow up with an email that kind of summarizes what you talked about on the phone call. So it's very cut and clear for them, so they don't have any misconceptions or misunderstandings. The other thing that we need to make sure we do it is we're making all of our calls, especially with out-of-state customers, over Car Wars. Do not make them over your cell phone or not using Car Wars. You need to have these phone calls recorded, especially out-of-state customers, because again, they will twist things, and especially there's a little bit more difficult to deal with. The more proof you have of what you told the customer, the better you're off. So make sure every call that you have with out-of-state customers is over Car Wars. Again, every call we ever have should be over Car Wars, but we should put a very strict, make sure you're watching it for out-of-state customers. So again, phone calls are huge. Making sure we're talking about that, and making sure we get that disclosure and we move people through the process. Now, the next thing is say we have a customer and he's ready to move through. We've gone through the disclosures, we've gone over the salvage, we've gone over all that, and we're starting to move the customer through the process. Now they're ready to, start moving down and buying the vehicle, submitting a credit app and doing all that stuff. Again, if we get to that point with an out-of-state customer and they're submitting a credit app, please try to get them to submit it online. This again just lowers our liability, and so we can have a signed, digitally signed credit app by an IP address. This does protect us as a dealership, so make sure you're pointing them to our website to fill out the credit app on our website, so we can get that in the process. But the next step is, before we even get to there, is we need to make sure we're going over that car with a fine-tooth comb and making sure the customer knows everything about that car. Now, this is one step we are going to be implementing with all of our vehicles. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I have a perfect lead off right there. Accounting keeps barging in with checks having to be signed. But again, kind of going back, again, make sure that all of our credit apps are done there. But again, what do we need to disclose to the customer to make sure they have a full understanding of what they're buying and they don't get any questions when the car lands there? Again, I'm going to leave this up to the store managers, but again, something has to go out. A video or photos of every blemish on the vehicle has to go out to the customer before they sign, especially on out-of-state, if they're buying the car sight unseen. So this is where you need to go, and you need to make a clear walk around of the car, and you need to find every single item on there, even if it looks tiny like a scratch that you wouldn't really notice. Send it. Again, these customers are buying this car sight unseen. No one wants to take that call when this car drops off in their lot, or when they fly in and they're all upset because you didn't tell them about these scratches, or you didn't tell them about this fade on the seat, or you didn't tell them about the carpet being cut a little bit. Make sure you're going through that car and make sure anything you see, make sure you're sending it to the customer. This is where we have to kind of drop our pants and make sure we show them everything. We need them to understand what they're buying. You don't want to have any hiccups with this, and you don't want to have any calls that just aren't good to have. And what happens with those is most of the time AutoSource loses. We end up having to cover a new buff job or a paint job or anything like that because we're just in a situation where we've shipped the car out, we've got a pissed off customer, bad reviews are going to be coming. They kind of have us by the hand, and we can't really do anything about it. So, but if we have the documentation saying, hey, I showed you this, I made sure this was clear with you, you have this understanding, we need to make sure that gets out. Again, everything we should go, I prefer to do a little video walk around of the car, and then I zoom in on every little imperfection that I can find so they can see kind of where it's at, and it's a little easier and a little clearer with customers mostly, and I can just load it up to like a YouTube channel or a drive and send it over to them. It makes it really simple. Or you could, a lot of you guys like to do a FaceTime or something like that. The thing is, the only thing I don't like about FaceTime is we have no record of what you really showed the customer. So you could FaceTime a customer and say, I showed you that over FaceTime. And the customer's like, no, you didn't. It's kind of your word against his word. So if you're going to do FaceTime, again, this is up to your store manager to make the decision as they're going to be dealing with it. If you're going to do FaceTime, I say you have to follow that up with an email listing all the imperfections that you showed them on the walk around. So again, I want you guys to kind of take a break right now, talk with your store manager, and let your store manager, he's going to kind of let you know what his preference is and what the process is moving forward on this. Again, this is for people that are buying the car sight unseen. So either we're taking a video, or we're sending pictures, or we're doing a FaceTime with an email following it, saying what imperfections we showed them. So take that conversation right now and have that conversation and come to a decision so it's kind of set for your store. All right, well, I hope that went well. I hope you guys got that decision made up for you guys so you guys can kind of move forward. Again, that is very important to make sure they understand that. I can't express how many headaches I deal with dealing with that kind of stuff. It makes all its way up. Customer service has a ton of headaches with that. So please make sure that's very clear. Next item that we always come up to when we're doing with an out-of-state deal. So they've sent us the credit app. We get all the stuff, and a lot of times salesmen will be like, hey, what paperwork do I do? What do I do for an out-of-state deal? Again, you need to build the packet just like the customer sitting in front of you. We're going to need the same thing signed, the auto check signed. We're going to need the payoff authorization and all that stuff. Probably not doing a trade if it's sight unseen, but you get my gist. You have to go through the checklist, make sure you have all the items that you need. Auto check, insurance forms, references, all that's going to have to be filled out and signed. So you need to make sure it's printed out, ready to go. So when the finance manager sends out the final signed document through QueueToSign, you can get those all signed at the same time. Make sure you have the driver's license at the time, and you have it all built up. You've checked the address and all that, and you're moving through. So again, build your packet just like someone sitting in there. Okay, the next thing that we need to make sure we know of is demos. So if we have a guy coming out buying a car sight unseen, and I hear this all the time, buying the car sight unseen, and we're shipping the car out, and I'll have a salesman run up to me when the shipper's going to be here in 2 hours. And he runs up to me saying, hey, I just pulled the car in to get the inside detailed so we can lift it, and I just noticed this was wrong with the car. There's nothing we can do at that time. Most of the time, it takes a couple days to get a shipper ready to go and all that stuff. We do it all the freaking time. I'm sure you guys are laughing right now because it's probably happened within the last month or two. We need to make sure right when we get an out-of-state deal deposit or we have someone getting close to, we need to make sure that car gets demoed. Needs to make sure it gets driven. That's either by your manager overnight or if you guys have enough time during lunches and have enough people drive it to make sure there's no issues with that car that we don't know about, that we haven't disclosed to the customer. We need to check all the buttons. We need to go through that car with a fine-tooth comb. This is where laziness gets us in trouble a lot of times, is because we are lazy, and then all of a sudden the shipper's going to be here in 2 hours. We hustle and go get it, and there's issues. Or the customer's flying in, and we get it in the morning to get detailed so they can come just pick it up and take off, and we find issues. Nothing makes us look more incompetent than that. We need to make sure that this gets done early in the process and that we make sure that it's moving forward. Make sure that that car's driven by someone. Make sure it's all the items are checked off on it. Go over it with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, this is your chance. How often would you say, wouldn't you love the chance to know whoever's going to show up on your lot 2 hours or 2 days before they're going to actually show up and be able to make sure the car's perfect for them? Well, with out-of-state customers, we have that opportunity. We just need to take advantage of it. So make sure we're doing that. So that's a big thing to make sure that it's done. Again, all this needs to be done on these out-of-state customers. Next thing that common misconception or something that sometimes we get in trouble with is shipping. How should shipping be handled when we're shipping it to a customer's location? So say they live in Alabama and they want to ship it out to Alabama. Hopefully year-round you maybe have found a good dispatcher that you like to use. I always tell people if you don't, you have uship.com, which is an easy to use and be able to use. But the customer always has to call either their dispatch, the dispatcher you recommend, or anything. The customer has to set up shipping. We cannot set up shipping to the customer's location. There's a couple big reasons why. Shipping to the customer's location. Now, if we ship the car, so if I'm in Utah and I ship the car to Alabama, and something happens and that customer decides to sue us because because AutoSource shipped the car to Alabama, guess what? They can sue us in Alabama instead of taking legal action in the state where they bought the car. But it's because we delivered the car into their state. That's a big reason. Another reason is a lot of times dealing with states that depending on where the law is, and we're in a lot of these states that customers if they don't take delivery of the vehicle, the sale is not final. And guess what? If we schedule shipping for them, the time they take delivery is when they pick up the car from the shipper. It's not when the car gets shipped out. It's when they pick up the car from the shipper, because we've hired the shipper to transfer that car. Again, if they don't take delivery on the car, guess what? We're SOS. Because the sale's not final. It puts us in a really sticky situation. Where if the customer schedules the shipping, the sale is final when their shipper they hired picks up the car. That calculates as delivery. So that also is another reason. Then also is time frame. How often, do we have customers mad because the car's not getting shipped quick enough and all this stuff? If a customer scheduled their shipping, guess what? They're the ones taking that up with the shipper. They're not getting mad at you, and it doesn't give them that sour taste. Now, again, this is only for if we ship the car to their house or their location. They have to schedule the shipping. Now, if we're shipping the car between locations, yes, we can use our shipping people to get those cars shipped and moved and transferred. Again, we always have to deal with those headaches. But again, if we're shipping it to the customer's house or where they live, the customer has to schedule and use their own shipping. So make sure that's clear. If you have any questions about that, please talk to your store manager, and then if he needs to, you can call their regional manager. Another thing that we need to cover for is when we're dealing a deal and we're financing someone out of state, we need to collect their taxes. You ask why? Big reason why is because we have to perfect the lien. In order for us, and part of our dealer agreement with our lenders, is that we have to have a way to perfect that lien. We can't perfect that lien unless taxes are paid and we can register the car into the customer's name and put the lien holder on there. So again, we have to collect taxes if we're financing the deal out of state. So again, the best way to find that is to look up the local DMV website, Google it. You gotta try to use anything you can to try to get that number right on. Again, not all the time is it going to be right on, but if you're close enough, then it gives us some leeway. We can play with it. Again, but every out-of-state deal that we finance through AutoSource, we need to collect their taxes. So I don't care if they're putting $5,000 down and their taxes are $2,000, and you're like, oh well, we'll just take $3,000 down, and you can keep the $2,000 to pay your taxes. Nope, we need to collect their taxes and take the full $5,000 down. And so we can perfect the lien. Again, that's only on deals that we're financing. Now, if they're financing through USAA or they're doing their own thing, we don't care because it's consumer. We don't have to perfect the lien. I don't have a dealer agreement with USAA. I don't have a dealer agreement with those other banks because the customer found them, so we don't have to. So again, only if we finance through our lenders do we need to collect the taxes. Okay. And last thing, I know I've been on here, I don't want to take all your manager's time. The last thing is bill of ladings. Now, this is probably one of the things that get dropped the most, and it's probably the most important thing. A bill of lading for a customer getting shipped out to a car getting shipped out to a customer's location. So say someone in Alabama got a shipper and they're coming in and they're picking up the car at 2 o'clock on Thursday. That bill of lading and all that document should be filled out by the salesperson. Because guess who's going to call? Who's the customer going to call if there's something not marked on the bill of lading? Or who's that customer going to call when you didn't disclose something that you marked on the bill of lading that were scratches? They're going to call you. So again, that bill of lading needs to be filled out by the by the salesman with the shipper, and they need to make sure they have a copy. They send a copy immediately to the customer so they can have that copy as well when the car shows there, so the shipper doesn't add anything to the bill of lading as far as damages. I always like to take pictures of the car once it gets up on the shipping truck, so I can really, I have the bill of lading and I have the pictures. If you want a good story about that, you can always call Kobe about how truckers tried to say that the roof was smashed in when he picked up the car, but Kobe took pictures right before he got on the truck, and the roof wasn't smashed in, so it saved us a lot. But again, make sure that bill of lading's filled out correctly. Don't let a shipper just say, oh, whatever, I'm not going to fill anything out, because then it just causes issues, because he's going to get there and say, no, all these scratches were there, I just didn't fill anything out on the bill of lading. Make sure you fill it out. Make sure it's clear. But that should be the salesman, and if salesman can't get it, you should go talk to one of your managers to get it filled out for you. Again, don't leave your lot managers to do this for you. You're completing your sale. Again, we need to complete our sale and make sure we understand everything that's going into that. So again, I know this was a little long-winded, but it's something needed to come out, especially with the new lender coming in. We just want to make sure we didn't have anything that kind of dropped the ball or we missed any steps. It's not as interactive as my last one, I apologize, but hopefully we have some exciting times in August, and hopefully we'll have some fun videos coming out. But you guys go kill it. I'm super excited. Hopefully someone can take down Colorado Springs this month. They've been just killing everyone the last 2-3 months in penetration. And Colorado Springs, I hope you keep it up. I'm excited for everyone. Please reach out to me. If you guys have any questions about what I talked about, please reach out to me. My extension 399, and it transfers right to my cell phone, so you always get to hold of me, or you can email me. But I'm excited, guys. Go have a killer time. Have a good rest of the meeting, and we'll talk to you soon.